Hey, vinyl community, it's Mazzy here. So I've been seeing all the cool kids lately have been shooting outside. I don't know, they go in their backyard, they go on their deck, summertime. Actually, it's been in the 80s in Seattle most of the time. It's got a little overcast now. It's gonna sunny up and warm up the next few days again. So I am just off my sliding door to my office here. And look at these beautiful trees right that surround my house. Come in nature, you know? Seeing Mazzy nature shit, except for me driving up and down the coast in California through Oregon and Washington. You haven't seen me a lot in nature. Although you have seen my little excursions up to the alpaca farm. If you've been a constant viewer of this channel, these are new releases. New releases or new records to me. Keep it somewhat short. And here we go. So, I just got several issues of Sam Records. Sam Records is a French one-man shop for the most part. So this is why I don't fucking outside. You get nature and you get airplanes. That's coming from Boeing Field, I think, not SeaTac. Anyway, Sam Records one-man shop out of France, and they have a different line. They have a couple lines that are very minimally pressed and hand printed, silk screened. They did the Donald Byrd, and I'll put a link below. You should watch the videos. I did a co-video with Michael in Germany, 45 audio file, and he turned me on to these records. I had heard of Sam. I'm not going for the big expensive stuff, but some of the stuff is very reasonably priced. And they do all analog pressings. They're pressed by Pallas in Germany. Dankeschön, Michael, for turning me on to 3 out of the 4 of these specifically. Maybe did the 4. The 4th I knew, it's just one I've been waiting to get. Now, I'll start with this on Sam Records. This is the famous, the 10-inch version. It originally came out as the 10-inch of Miles Davis, doing the great soundtrack to the Louis Malle film featuring Jean Reno. Cool film where he basically just improvised while he watched the running of this film. Came out as a 10-inch. There is a album I have on Columbia that came out years later. I think it's called Jazz Tracks. I showed it in my Miles Davis overview. And one side of it is this, and it has some other tracks on side too. So I've been wanting to get this, again, from the master analog tapes, using the original negatives as possible. Although remember, that's a film motion picture grab, so it's going to be a little grainy, but it's fantastic. Fantastic music and fantastic pressing. These are all tipped on backs like you'd see in the 50s and 60s. So really wonderful. This is still available out in the wild, I believe. Then the great Bobby Jaspar. This was originally just a French issue, and this, I'm not sure when this album came out. I think it was in the late 50s, 58, 59 or so. And this was issued last year, 2019, on Sam Records, Bobby Jaspar, and it's called Barclay. Is it Barclay? No, that's the label. I think it's just called Bobby Jaspar. And it's got Kenny Clark on drums, Jimmy Merritt trio, Herbo Canto bongos. Jimmy Merritt on bass, Sadi on bass, Michael Hauser on vibes and xylophone. Beautiful flautist, really a wonderful record. You don't have a lot of, I don't have much flute music. I don't have any Hubert Laws anymore. All the stuff on CTI was a bit schmaltzy for me, but I like this period, this type of, now the garbage trucks, recycling trucks are gonna come around. This is why we don't do these fucking things outside. And he stopped right on the other side of my fucking trees. Garbage trucks in nature. I can hear that. Can you hear that? Okay, I should have made this an industrial noise video. The stuff would have been appropriate. Conceptual art piece. Mazzy with recycling truck. Still there. Okay. Another from a French, these are from Barclay Discs. That's who originally issued these, and I didn't research that enough. But another Sam record release is the Chet Baker Quartet. Beautiful covers again, tipped on jackets, fairly reasonable prices, like in the, I don't know, $35 range, $35, which for all analog tipped on jackets from France I think is a good price these days. This was issued originally in 1955, and you know, it's in French, so I'm not going to really read much about it, but this won't be one of his vocal records. It'll be one of his instrumentals. Great trumpet player. I'm a big fan of Chet Baker, so I'm really trying to pick up any Chet Baker. By the way, you might want to check out, there was a box set that came out last year on Craft Records that had 4 or 5 Chet Baker's records. Those have just been released, or at least announced. Maybe they're already out, so I don't know if they're sold out yet. Those records have been released individually, so definitely check those out. And again, one of the best records of the Tone Poets of this year has been the Chet Baker Sings Tone Poet record. Great. His voice is not for everyone, but I think he's one of the greats. I love Chet Baker. And lastly of the Sam records, Donald Byrd Quintet Parisian Thoroughfare. Any record that has an artist eating pommes frites on the cover is just fine by me. Now, those of you who aren't bilingual, pommes frites are French fries. I'm so bilingual. Mazzy is such like, that fucking truck is still there. The guy's probably, you know, smoking a joint here. We're in Seattle, it's legal. I know you're not supposed to smoke while you drive or while you operate heavy machinery, especially a recycled truck. Again, tipped on, beautiful Byrd in Paris, Donald Byrd trumpet, Bobby Jasper saxophone, tenor, Walter Davis junior piano, okay? Doug Watkins contrabass, Art Taylor, 1958, recorded the 22nd of October, 1958. Now this says important, a slight distortion may appear on the piano or drums. This defect, due to the poor quality of the master tapes, is impossible to erase without distorting the entire recording. But that's fair that they give you that little warning up front, I think. You know, there's too many fucking audiophile wonkers. You know, they hear like one little blip or blop and they freak out and they return the record. Thank you. So, really cool record. Okay, and then just a series of some new things. This is also, one more jazz record. This is Speaker's Corner. Now, 1957, this is recorded by Charles Mingus, The Clown. An amazing, amazing cover. This record wasn't issued to, I believe, 61 or 62, but so it was recorded, you know, 4 to 5 years before it was put out. 4 tracks only. So some of Mingus's first bluesy stuff, but the final track is where, well, first of all, let me tell you who's on it. Curtis Porter, Jimmy Knepper, Wade Liggy, Donnie Richmond. Anyway, what I wanted to really showcase is the track, the final track, The Clown, which is a 12.5-minute track. It's a very beat, poetic track. Now, I know a lot of people listen to the record or have the Atlantic CD, full Atlantic recordings of Charlie Mingus, that hate this piece of music. To me, it's amongst my favorite. It's beat poet at its most absurd in a way, and it's written and improvised by the great Gene Shepard. Gene Shepard was a East Coast New York DJ and beat poet and writer, and he tells the story of a clown. It's based on something, I think, a story that Mingus and Gene talked about, based on another story, and about how this clown just can't, or like jazz artists, they can't satisfy anyone, so they just keep playing. At the end, they blow their brains out. Not quite the same ending. Really wonderful, really kind of humorous in a dark way, but I like spoken word. I like beat poetry. I have a great Jack Kerouac box set of CDs that Rhino put out some years ago. They had a series of beat poetry, as well as stuff by Ginsberg and even Steve Allen piano bits, but love that stuff to pieces. I know Rocky, who watches me, hi Rocky, who sent me a record he worked on from New York, wanted me to do things on beat poetry and stuff, but I frankly don't have enough of it on record to do it. I love it. I'd love to have more collections of the stuff because I think it's really interesting. Like the avant-garde, love poetry, love the whole, Jack Kerouac, Allen Ginsberg, Michael McClure generation of artists and writers of the day. And when I lived in San Francisco, I would frequent City Lights Books, Ferlinghetti's. I used to sit in a cafe up the block, Cafe Puccini, literally next to Lawrence Ferlinghetti. I'm talking in the 80s and 90s, and sometimes have nice chats with him. He's like 100 years old now, still alive. So I'm a very big fan of that music, of that actually writing and word speak. Those of you, unfortunately, I don't think it's on. It's a little bit on the record. On the last waltz, several beat poets did including Michael McClure, did some sessions or did some readings between acts while they're setting up acts at the last waltz at Winterland. So it's something to check out. Okay, now, this is one cool record. This is a compilation, I think originally released on CD in 2011, and it is called African Rhythms 1970 to 1982. It's the oneness of Juju, and it's the work and the various offshoots of basically one man. It's of James Branch, Euclides Branch Jr. He was born in 1947. It goes from Black Power movements to soul to funk to jazz to, again, some spoken word beat poetry stuff in the Black movement, and just came out fantastic record, fantastic comp, 2-record set. It's on Strut Records. Actually, it's a 3-record set. 3-record set in one sleeve. You can't see that. Anyway, highly recommended. Check it out. Now, I'm going to do lastly a couple new releases. The Pretenders. I'll buy anything Chrissie Hynde puts out. Her Moan trombone, I want to say Moan Chacon, but that's Moan. I'm thinking of Cat Stevens. The record she put out last year, sort of the jazz trombone, whatever it's called, was amongst my favorite records of the year. And how can I say it's one of my favorite records when I can't even remember the fucking name, right? But it was. She sounds exactly like she sounded in the late 70s and 80s. This is the first Pretenders album in quite a long time. Martin Chambers is the only remaining original member. Fantastic rock and roll record. It's what you'd expect on a Pretenders record. Great, fantastic record. Fun cover. Highly recommended. If you like the Pretenders, you won't be disappointed with this record. If you don't like the Pretenders, why are you even paying attention? Finally, and with Bob Dylan. You know how I love Bob Dylan? We did a feature, David Bacon and I did a feature on Bob Dylan. Now, I picked this one up. This just came out of MoFi. I'm not buying all the Dylan MoFis, mostly some of the mono ones. This is obviously a stereo record. The soundtrack to Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. A lot of people don't like this record because it's not a bunch of songs, it's a soundtrack. But it's Dylan, McGuinn, Bruce Langhorne, Booker T, Russ Kunkel, who else is on it? Jim Keltner, Booker T. A lot of recycling trucks today, garbage day. Some of the best recorded acoustic guitars I've ever heard, and this is amazing. The original is great, so if you have the original or satisfied it, you don't really need to up the ante and go for a MoFi, but it's amongst my favorite sounding records when I just want a mood. And ironically, one of his biggest hits ever, Knocking on Heaven's Door, is about this. Robert Altman film with Chris Christopherson, really interesting film. Dylan's in it. Kind of has like a bit part, a reoccurring bit part in it, but the acoustic guitar are great, and a lot of repetitive themes that are on most soundtracks. So I love this, and I'm going to end with, I showed this before, but the vinyl finally came in, of Rough and Rowdy Ways. Now, double record set, 3 sides, or 4 sides, I'm sorry, it is 4 sides. It ends with the 18-minute Murder Most Foul, which is a wonderful epic. A beautiful sounding record, beautiful sounding recording, well mastered, well recorded. To me, probably one of the best Dylan albums in 20 years, 30 years maybe. If you're into Dylan, this is a must-have. If you're not into Dylan, this is a must-have, but you may not like his voice, it might not be your speed. It's kind of Dylan doing Nick Cave doing Dylan. It's very much has that moody feel to Nick Cave's Ghosteen that came out last year, and Nick Cave is amongst one of my favorite artists too, and Ghosteen was one of my top 3 favorite albums of last year as well. Some people thought it was too moody and avant-garde and talky, but I think it was a gorgeous record. I'm recording this on the 23rd of July, 2020. If you are watching this today, tonight is a pay-per-view thing, and we're watching this Nick Cave live pay-per-view, which is him solo piano. It's actually pre-recorded, but it's I think a 90-minute piece with him, and I'm so stoked, so pumped on that one. But this is going to be one of the best records of the year for me. One of the best records so far of 2020. Bob Dylan, 79 years old, 79 years old, still doing it. Anyway, that's it. I don't think Mazzy needs to be in nature for these anymore. It's so fucking distracting, right? Anyway, thank you, vinyl community, and thank you, watchers. It's life in big city, baby. You know, if you look over there a little ways, 15 minutes is downtown Seattle. So I'm not that far from downtown, but we'll talk to you later.